In my last video, we talked about how we can build an AI-powered chat app using Next.js, Langchain, and Typescript. In this video, we are going to build the same app using another interesting and a fascinating tool without using any code. And the name of the tool is called Flowise AI. What they offer is a set of easy-to-use UI building blocks built on top of Langchain's APIs. If you had worked with Langchain before, you probably would have heard names like chains, text loaders, text splitters, etc. When we build an AI app using Langchain, we typically connect all them together in code and then we build our app. The Flowise AI offers a nice set of UI on top of all the Langchain's APIs. So you don't really have to code anything, rather you just have to connect all the APIs together in a right way in order to build an AI app. You can safely call this tool as a low-code tool or more like a no-code tool, but it would still require some experience in order to start up the app, debug the app, and also deploy the app. With that being said, let's go ahead and build our PDF chat AI using Flowise. Alright, this is the architecture of the app that we are going to build, and if you have seen my last video, I've explained this in detail. It's split into two parts. The first part is to prepare a knowledge store using PineConeDB, and the next part is the interaction with our app using OpenAI's ChatGPT. So this means that you will need to have an account with Pinecone and also platform.openai.com. Let's go ahead and see how we can build our app using Flowise AI. As you can see here on the GitHub, the installation is really simple. First, we are going to install the Flowise AI globally and start our app using a simple command. Once you do that, you should see a UI like this. On the left side, you have the side menu, where the first item is called the chat flows. Chat flows are the flows that you build. The next item is called the marketplace. In the marketplace, they have some pre-built templates that you can use in order to build your chat flows. On the tool section, we have some custom methods that our Langchain agents can use. And then we have a tab for credentials. This is the tab where you add your API keys. I've already added my Pinecone API key and also my ChatGPT API key. Now, for this app, the main Langchain API that will enable us to interact with our PDF documents is called Conversational Retrieval QA Chain. And if you go to the marketplace in the Flowise AI, you would see a simple template called Conversational QA Chain template that pretty much does what we expect. But there is a catch. This template contains a node called Pinecone Upsert Documents, and this node would insert and update our embeddings inside our PineConeDB as it should. But the problem is, this runs every time you restart the app or update any of the nodes, which would result in duplicate copies of vectors on our PineConeDB. And that's not what we want. In order to avoid that, we're not going to use this template. Instead, we're going to build two chat flows from scratch. The first flow is just to populate our knowledge store just once. And the second flow is used to talk to the ChatGPT with our knowledge store's information in the context. For our first flow, we are going to make a new flow and we're going to give it a name called knowledge store flow and save it. So I'm going to look for a first node called recursive character text splitter. So this would split our pages into smaller chunks. And we want the chunk size to be 1000 and then we want the chunk overlap to be 200. After this, we're going to load our PDF loader. So this will enable us to connect with the text splitter. And we're going to simply connect our recursive character text splitter to our PDF file. And the setting's going to be one document per page. And I'm going to upload my file called Basic German Law. So that's the document that we're going to talk to. And after this, we're going to add the embedding LLM, OpenAI, or let me search for embeddings. And we're going to get the OpenAI embeddings. And here you can see that we have to choose the OpenAI API key. Strip new lines, I'm going to enable that. And I want the batch size to be 50. And once this is ready, I'm going to add another node called Pinecone upsert document node. So this is the main node for us that will connect the document output from the PDF loader, and will also connect the embeddings. So what this will essentially do is it will get the document information, and also it will get the embeddings API and connect them both, and will update the data inside the Pinecone DB. I'm going to connect my API key, and then the index is going to be Flowise AI. And we're going to add also a namespace. So for example, if you click on the additional parameters, you can see that we can add German basic law. And I'm just going to leave the top case 4. And I'm going to add another node called retriever QA chain, which would connect our vector store. Plus it needs a language model. So that's our main chat language model that we're going to use. So that's going to be chat OpenAI. All right, so this is done. We still need to save this information, right? So if you don't save it, then this changes will not be reflected. So make sure that you always save. So the upsert needs to be triggered somehow, right? So in order to trigger the upsert, we are making it into a chat app, and I can type any information that I want here. I'm going to type update, and once you do this, once this operation is completed, you can go back to your Pinecone index and check if your namespace has been updated along with the vectors. Now, if I go back to my index and then check out my namespace, you can see that I've got 650 vectors updated. So I don't really need this chat to answer me back. Rather, I only need to check if the update of the vectors have happened on my Pinecone index. Our flow 1 is complete and the knowledge store is ready. We're gonna save this information, go back and add another chat flow called conversation flow. In this flow, we don't really need to do any text splitting, any document loading. Rather, we only need to access the existing Pinecone index. So I'm going to drag that information. We will also need to specify the index. So it's going to be Flowise AI. For the namespace, I'm going to give the namespace that we used, and I'm going to give the top K to be 10 because in this flow, this actually matters. We're going to get the top 10 matches from the Pinecone. And now I'm going to look for my embeddings model, the same OpenAI embeddings that we've just used. And I'm going to connect it to my Pinecone load index. So this will be used when we ask the question. So when we ask something, that will be converted to this embedding, and then we will use that embedding to search the Pinecone database. Now, the next item for me is to add our final chain. It's called conversational retriever QA chain. And this requires 3 things. First one is the vector store, which we're going to connect. And then the next one is the language model. So I'm going to look for chat OpenAI, the same thing that we've used before. I'm going to keep the temperature to 0. In order to keep the chat memory, I'm going to add a buffer memory node that will retain the last chats. So I'm just going to connect that. And I'm going to enable the source documentation to be true. So we want to get the source documents that we use to generate the response. So this is the default instruction for the system. I'm just going to leave it as it is. And I'm going to choose the stuff document chain because that's the most stable one in the Langchain's arsenal. All right. So now our chat is ready. Now we can start chatting with our documentation. It's time for us to talk to our document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the chat icon. I'm just going to make sure that I've saved everything. All right. So I'm just going to click on save a couple of times and ask some questions. First question, I'm going to ask to summarize the document just to see if this works. All right, it seems to be working. It's using the top 10 items from our Pinecone DB that it got back, and then use that as a context to answer a question. So let me get a bit smarter. Can police arrest me without a warrant in Germany? It's answering me properly from the information that it found. Now I'm going to see if it retains the chat history by using a pronoun for the police. Can they enter my apartment? In the chat, it knows that the they actually mean the police. It knows about the chat history and also keeping that in the context. Can they arrest me for smoking? Now it's a bit more interesting. This document doesn't really contain anything regarding smoking. It is basically telling me that I don't really know if they can, arrest you for smoking, so I can't really answer you based on the context. This seems to be working great. And let's see how we can use this. So for example, if you click on this API endpoint, so you have few options on how to use this chatbot. For example, you can embed it into an HTML and you can use it as part of the JavaScript API, etc. And the most easiest way is that to share the chatbot. So you have to make this into a public chatbot. Just click this item and then open this link in a new tab. And now you can talk to it. So now I'm going to ask more questions and it's going to answer me back like a chatbot. So interestingly, what you can do is you can simply embed this into any site that you want. So you can build your app and then you can simply make it public and also share this link with anyone who would like to access your chatbot. And with this link, they'd be able to talk to your chatbot. Let's talk about another interesting information. So how do I deploy this? It's actually fairly simple. For example, if I click on deploy to render, they instruct us to fork the repo, do all your code changes in the repo that you want to, and then sign into your account on render and make a new Node.js service. So for example, just make a new web service and connect your GitHub account and run this like any other Node.js service that you would run. It's this whole app that you've just built. It's just a simple Node.js web service. It can be run like any other Node.js service. You just simply fork the code and run your version of that same app. And it's really, really easy. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more, and I will talk to you soon.